Dave Ramsey is still giving his dangerous advice, so I gave his show a call. I barely even mentioned the topic, and
I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate. There's all these goobers out there who have always put this 4% crap in the market.
he really exploded.
If you think you can only pull off 4% off of investments making 12, where the flip is the other 8% going?
You're not going to want to miss any of today's episode.
There's no time for music right now. I don't normally do this, but I'm currently working on editing episode 48, which comes out on November 21st. And in the process of working on this episode, the call I made to the Ramsey show sort of exploded on the internet, and it's gotten a lot more attention than I ever would have expected. And some of the attention's been positive, some of it's been constructive, moving toward the goal of changing Dave's mind. Other bits have been negative. But either way, I feel like with all the buzz going on, I want to get my side of the story from the phone call out into the world early. So what you're about to see is the ending of what will be on episode 48. Not all the questions are answered in what I'm about to show you. This is just the reaction from my side of the conversation that I had with Dave Ramsey on the 2nd of November. What will be in the episode on the 21st will be the answers to other questions I've been getting, like, did I take George Camel out of context when I cited his video? What happened to the article that I cited, and what exactly was in that article? And I want you to hear the answers to those questions and others that you may have. I'm hoping that episode 48 covers everything that you'd like to ask about the phone call that I made. So if you're watching this just to see my reaction, I sincerely ask that you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the context that led up to this phone call. With that, here's the ending of what will be episode 48 of the HopeFilled Financial Podcast.
If you're at Coasting FI, Coasting Financial Independence, you could apply more of your money to pay off the mortgage of your house or some other project that is going to help you in your financial endeavors instead of contributing to retirement the full 15%. I honestly think this is a great question, and I was genuinely excited to hear how Dave Ramsey was going to answer it. I was really looking forward to having a little bit of back and forth, having Dave ask me questions, providing some answers, and coming to a conclusion that I could interestingly share with you. So on November 2nd of this year, November 2nd of 2023, I called into the Dave Ramsey show to ask the question. And I wish I could say that this call went better.
5 J's in Kansas City. Hi, Jay. How are you?
I am blessed. How are you, Dave?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Well, before I start, I want to thank you for your foundations curriculum for high schoolers and homeschoolers, because without that, I wouldn't be debt-free today.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
Were you a student in it or a teacher? Or
I took it as a homeschooled student years and years and years ago.
Wow,
Good
that's
for
fun.
you, Jay.
So my goal in thanking Dave for the foundations curriculum was twofold. I genuinely wanted to thank him. If it weren't for his curriculum, I really wouldn't probably be debt-free today, and I wouldn't be near as blessed as I am financially. Second, by showing Dave that I've been following his material for years, I can show that I know his stuff well. I can show that I've followed it to the extent of being debt-free at the very least, and I can pay him a compliment so we can have a friendly conversation. I know he's gotten a little touchy on the last couple times the 4% rule gets brought up, and I didn't want to poke the bear. I wanted to have a productive conversation.
So my question today is, I'm baby step 4, 5, and 6. I have about $120,000 saved for retirement. That's across my IRA, my Roth IRA, my wife's Roth IRA, and the 401k.
How old are you?
And I've 30 years old.
Good for you. Well done.
Thank you. I feel, from what I've been running the numbers with, that I'm on the teetering edge of coasting financial independence. And I'm trying to best understand my plan with the end in mind. So how I'm going to turn that nest egg when I retire into income. I found on your website a little article that talks about 4 to 5% withdrawal rate.
Now, this is the first citation, the article that got taken down.
And I was trying to run the numbers around that, and I thought I was close. And then about a month ago, George Camel released a video that said that the withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon should be closer to 3%. So if I can establish financial independence comfortably, then I was wondering if I could ease up on baby step 4 to pay off the house faster.
Now, I couldn't see when I'm calling into the Ramsey show. I actually couldn't even hear that well because the audio is so degraded when you're talking over the phone. But you saw Dave's face there when I mentioned George's video. He got very perplexed. I get through my question here, and I was expecting that since George genuinely did show evidence that you need a 3% withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon, that, he would look at that, ask questions about it, and we could start a little bit of fun back and forth and dig into my question.
Okay, I'm a little confused because I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate, because that's absolutely wrong. I'm going to have to find out where that video is and get it taken down, because that's just wrong. You don't need to have a 3% withdrawal rate. That's ridiculous.
At this point, when Dave kind of blew up at George there, I realized that I didn't play my cards right, that just because George had a video out there that supports conservative safe withdrawal rates, that Dave would be charitable about it. And if you've listened to Dave historically, you know that this is the start of a rant.
Or I hope you misunderstood. I hope we didn't put out trash like that.
Was it 4 to 5%?
No, it shouldn't be 4 to 5%. It ought to be more than that. I mean, if you're making 12 in good mutual funds and the S&P has averaged 11.8, and if inflation for the last 80 years has averaged 4%, if you make 12 and you need to leave 4% in there for inflation raises, that leaves you 8. So I'm perfectly comfortable drawing 8. But if you want to be a little bit conservative, 7, but sure not 5 or 3.
Well, I was trying to back check it because, 3 to 5, I thought that was a big range. And a lot of the studies I found showed
there's a lot of studies that are stupid in this space. It's just wrong. Listen, man, the math I just gave you is the math.
Math is math. Math is math.
If you're making 12% and inflation is 4, and you leave 4 in there, so your nest egg grows by 4, it's simple. 8 is what's left over. So if you got $1 million and you leave 4% in there, that's $40,000. Okay, so you now have $1,040,000. So the next year you get a rate of return of 12%, 11.5% on the $1,040,000, and the next year it'll be $1,090,000. 1.1, right? And because your nest egg is growing by the rate of inflation, giving you a cost of living raise.
Again, here we run into the problem of Dave Ramsey's simplified formula, which doesn't take into account the fact that the market goes up and down, volatility and sequence risk exist.
And so if you want to be a little bit conservative, maybe 5%. But there's all these goobers out there who have always put this 4% crap in the market, and I'm just irate right now that we have joined the stupidity.
Why is it that stupid, though?
Rachel's asking the real question. This is what I wanted to hear from Dave. Dave's daughter is saying, why is it stupid? Why? Well, this is the part where you've heard me try to get in edgewise a little bit. I'm getting ready to jump in and hopefully be able to talk about this. Notice if you're watching on the video, Dave reaches out and pushes the button to hang up on me right before I get the chance.
It's too low because it's not realistic. You do not need to live on 4% of your money for your nest egg to survive.
Yeah, even if you did a rate of return of 10% or something.
Yeah, and what it sets up is...
Right there, he hung up on me.
This guy now, he doesn't think he's got enough money. And he's already got $120,000 and he's 30 years old and he's on a plan. He's on a plan to be very wealthy and he's worried he's going to have enough money or not.
Yeah.
Because stupid people put out low withdrawal rates. Like if you think you can only pull off 4% off of investments making 12, where the flip is the other 8% going?
There it is again. There's a good question that Dave should be asking. Where is it going? It's going to volatility risk and it's going to sequence risk. That's where it goes. There's solid math to back that up that isn't oversimplified and conforms beautifully to reality.
Well, 4% of it went to inflation. That's where it went. The other 4% is just sitting there. So you are growing your investments instead of living off of them. I'm not destroying the nest egg. I'm not even touching the nest egg. I'm growing the nest egg by leaving 4% in there.
Yeah.
Taking 8 off of a 12 growth rate.
So go a 10% rate of return. Go a little bit more conservative with your rate of return. Go 10%. What would you do with 10%?
Well, then 4 off of that, so 6.
6, yeah.
But why are you going to underinvest? The problem is when you go down these stupid nerd rabbit holes in these Reddit threads with these morons who live in their mother's basement.
I guess this now makes me a moron that lives in my mother's basement. No.
And then you put that out into the dadgum community, and then people go, I don't have enough money. It's hopeless. I'll never be able to save enough to retire. $1 million should create for you an $80,000 income, boys and girls. So you should, perpetually, like if forever, you should be able to pull 80,000 forever and never destroy it. Now and so when you tell people that $1 million creates a $40,000 income, you go, oh, I've got to have $2 million and I can't make that, then this system doesn't work. So what you're doing with this bogus math is you're stealing people's hope. That's why I'm pissed about it.
Apparently the HopeFilled Financial Podcast is stealing people's hope instead of giving hope. On the contrary, I now see Dave's point that he's making with great passion, that by telling people they need more than what he's telling them, well, you're going to suppress their optimism of, oh, I can retire. I can genuinely retire because if I use an 8% withdrawal rate, I know that I can save up enough to live off of that. I'm sure I can. It's one thing to give people hope. It's another thing to do it with a lie. He calls it bogus math, and his way of disproving it is to get fired up and angry about it. Just because you're angry and passionate about something does not make you right. Mathematically, statistically, according to basically every expert out there on the stock market, you, Dave Ramsey, are the one who's wrong on this matter. And if you are the one who's wrong, I'm going to give you a little bit of a Pascal's wager now. If you are the one who's wrong, and you are out there giving people double what is safe for their safe withdrawal rate, or more, because in many cases I've heard you say up to 10% in perpetuation should be safe. If you're out there saying that, well, what you're doing is putting people in a position where early on in retirement, before they realize that it's a problem, they're going to chew up their nest egg so much that they're going to have to go back to work. And you have too much of an influence to be out there pushing this narrative of 8 to 10% withdrawal rates being safe as an authority on personal finance. I think we should set up people for real success and make sure that they understand the truth of the matter, that they understand the math of the matter. And if we're going to put something out there that is more risky for our plan, we need to understand that it's risky and not go in blindly trusting and hoping that it's safe. Truly, this is Dave Ramsey's most dangerous advice that he gives on the radio.
Because it's hope stealing with super nerds that have never really done anything to start with. They don't have any investments. They just have theories. My money is actually invested exactly the way I teach people to invest it. And I'm easily making 12% on my money. Easily. Average throughout a decade.
Yeah.
So it's just asinine that we do this stuff. So no, honey, you need to save 15% of your income in baby step 4 till you get your house paid off. When your house gets paid off, you will increase your investing ratios above that. You are not going to retire poor.
Okay, let's just take a moment and pause. This is at this point in the clip where Dave Ramsey actually addresses my question. Can I ease up on baby step 4 so that I can apply the extra income that I'm not investing to my mortgage? Dave says, no, continue investing 15% of your income as baby step 4 dictates. Well, if I take his 8% safe withdrawal rate at face value and just follow it blindly, well, my math would conclude that I am coasting financial independence. Why would a more aggressive safe withdrawal rate then be the advice you give someone in my position? Because if I'm wrong and I actually needed to be on that conservative end, if I needed to be at that 3%, then I might not have enough for retirement. Dave's advice to say continue investing is congruent with having a more conservative approach to planning coasting financial independence. But taking his 8% withdrawal to its logical conclusion says that I have enough to coast into retirement right now. So I should be able to ease up on baby step 4. We don't get any additional nuanced conversation here, and I'm kind of bummed about it because I'm pretty sure they're not letting me back on the show.
Stay away from 4% withdrawal rate morons who are telling you this is the thing. So, God, It's just aggravating. So
I can see the hope ceiling.
Because it makes people think they need $2 million when they only need $1 million.
Yeah.
Or it makes them think they need $8 million when they only need $4 million.
Yeah.
And here's the way, the end of the story is this. No one ever actually ends up ever with what you thought you were going to end up with.
Right.
Ever. So you're sitting there at 30 or 29 years old.
How did he know I actually wasn't 30, that I was 29? I said I was 30. He knows nothing about me. Also, he said stay away from 4% morons. I better unfriend myself on Facebook.
You're doing these projections, which is okay to do the projection.
Sure.
And you project out there and you go, okay, I'm going to have $1.7 million at this current rate. Yeah, but what you haven't factored in is between now and 35 years from now when you're 65, you're going to run into flying monkeys, wicked witches. Have you seen The Wizard of Oz? You're going to be on the yellow brick road sometimes.
And Glinda,
sometimes
and the
you're going to have
witch.
Money drop in your hands
Who's great.
out of nowhere. You're going to make more money than you ever need. You're going to have ruby red slippers sometimes, and sometimes you're going to have flying monkeys stealing them.
Is the Wizard of Oz reference just because I said I was from Kansas City? Wow. Just wow.
And at the end of the story, your little projection is not accurate. You're going to make usually most people end up with about 2x of what they thought they were going to end up with.
So people end up with about 2x of what they think they're going to end up with. That's Dave's point. However, he wants us to believe that we don't need that much. Again, putting us in a position where we can make decisions that expose us to undue risk and cripple our financial future. In closing, it's apparent we didn't change Dave Ramsey's mind with the evidence-based stuff that we put out there, but hopefully this conversation that was started will eventually lead to a conversion of Ramsey Solutions so that their math can reflect reality when it comes to post-retirement advice or post-retirement recommendations. And God bless Rachel for trying to stick up for George, stick up for the more conservative side of things, trying to be a little bit more compassionate toward the question there, and trying to see both sides of the story. If she is the future of Ramsey Solutions, I think she may come to see the math for what it is. I know that after this in the chat, everyone was saying that George was in trouble. Dave wasn't mad at me. He didn't know that I am, quote unquote, a certified financial Pharisee, hyper nerd goober with a calculator who believes in 3 to 5% safe withdrawal rates. Hey, he called me honey. I just hope that someone gets this conversation to Dave before he does genuinely retire and is no longer on the show, because I care a lot about the good work that Dave Ramsey has done. I've, again, followed him since before I was in college. I followed him when I was a homeschooled kid. I followed him from his homeschooled curriculum on. And I want him to be able to correct this point, this dangerous advice that he has out there for the sake of himself, his legacy, and his listeners. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you for listening. If you listened all the way to the end here, please consider giving us a like, share, subscribe, or follow. I would really sincerely appreciate it. Until next week, until next Tuesday, budget bravely and enjoy your hope-filled financial future.